Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to another Hot Toys Not Toy. The company may be called Hot Toys, but this is definitely not a toy. It is the 1/6 scale MMS 591 BATPOD from Dark Knight Rises. It's on the box right there. And there's a little handle on the top of the box in case you want to transport it around. And there's a box inside a box, and the handle is still functional in this inner box. A really nice image of the BATPOD on the front there. So Dark Knight Rises version, which is identical to the Dark Knight version except for a little extra clip for the EMP gun on the back. I wanted this thing so bad when it first was released all those years ago under the Dark Knight release. And you know, whenever people are complaining about not being able to get a toy that's in high demand, I just think of instances like this where I wasn't able to get that original release of the BATPOD all those years ago, but here's the reissue with improvements on it. I think some things have been improved from the previous release. The lights might be brighter too. I'm not sure. I know on the tumbler, which I also ended up picking up the reissue of the tumbler, they improved some things on it. So every time I'm not able to get something, I just think, well, maybe catch it down the road and catch it even better than the initial release. Because a lot of the time, the second run of a toy is better than the first run. Got some instructions here, and I just wanted to share this experience because this is one of the coolest parts of getting one of these high-end movie prop replica Hot Toys releases. The packaging is always incredible, and the smell, wish you could smell that. Oh, that is not a new toy smell. That's a new motorcycle smell right there. The BATPOD, coolest motorcycle ever created. Not for TV and movies only, but period, in my opinion. I love the BATPOD, and I'm so happy to be able to finally own the 1/6 scale version of it. I've got a smaller version that ejects out of one of the Mattel Batmobiles, but wow, this is the ultimate BATPOD right here. Or at least I hope it's the ultimate BATPOD. I've watched a couple of reviews. There's some great reviews on YouTube on this thing, and there are concerns. So the one thing they reiterate over and over again is not a toy. Hot Toys, not a toy. It should be hot replicas. Very, very fragile. So thanks to those reviews, I'm not going to be as ham-fisted as I normally am with toy reviews. It's one thing I really enjoy about toys, whether they're vintage or new, is that they're intended to, a lot of them pass what's called a drop test, which is when they drop on the floor and nothing breaks and shatters into jagged pieces that can harm a child. So this would not pass a drop test. This has not passed a futzing test for a lot of people who have bought it. Oh, this is what I really love about the BATPOD. It is the final piece, the remnant of the tumbler. And I love the tumbler too. So the tires on the BATPOD are from the front of the tumbler. One on the back tire. Oh man. Look at that. I'm just going to jump around here because this thing is stunning. I haven't even assembled it yet, but so the tire's not moving because it's got a pin in it. And this is very, very useful. You don't want this thing just rolling right off your wherever you can display it, desk, table, shelf. And so I have this safety pin in here just to be safe. It's an eyesore. It doesn't look like it should be there. Could have been black, I guess, but you can really stick anything you want in there. It wouldn't be too hard to make your own safety pin. One of the other concerns just as I'm unpacking this thing, fill you in on what I've heard about this thing is that it's kind of like the G.I. Joe Defiant. If you're a Joe fan, it can't support its own weight. So it looks just like the one from the movie, but the problem with some vehicles from movies when they're made into replica form, not so much an issue with toy form, because the toy companies, they can just change things and make it sturdier. For example, look at the McFarlane 1/12 scale tumbler. The front wheels on it, not 100% accurate to how it is in the movie, because they just wanted a toy that could hold itself up. But something like this is trying to be as true to the movie design as possible, faults and all. Which means, and I can see what they mean, it's... oh boy. Yeah. I can see in person now what everyone was talking about. This thing is held together by very, very thin pieces of... these are plastic. There is some die cast on it, but you can see it's kind of buckling under its own weight. So one of the things I see a lot of guys who have this say is you can put your Batman on it for a bit, but they wouldn't recommend putting a Batman figure like permanently, for several months or years, because the weight of that figure is just going to press even more. Like, it's having enough trouble holding itself up, let alone a Hot Toys figure. Another issue with the Batman figure, like an actual Hot Toys Batman figure on here, is those rubber suits that they wear, whether it's Batman Begins or Dark Knight, regardless of which version. The trouble with those is they have such limited range, and I had some trouble getting my Hot Toys Dark Knight, as well as a Takara Batman Begins Batman in the tumbler, because they're just so stiff. And then once you do get them in there, another problem is that you get creases on the rubber for those figures if they're in that sitting position for a long period of time. So luckily, I think I've found a solution. It's one of these Spin Master 12-inch cheapo bargain basement. Paid $13 for it on Amazon, Canadian, which is probably $10 in the States. Batman Dark Knight figures. So I'm hoping, like, this is extremely light, and it's actually got a ton of articulation as well. Somewhat ball jointed shoulders, legs, head. Unfortunately, can't look up, and the detail on it is great. So some elitists might be disgusted at the thought of a $10, 13 Canadian, figure on this super high-end, super detailed Hot Toys vehicle. But what can I tell you? First world problems. I'm hoping that it's actually going to fit better than the Hot Toys figures, because one of the reviews I saw, the fellow just could not bend the knees. Like, there's not enough range in the figure's legs and knees and ankles to get the feet here, get the knees there, get the hands up here. There's a little bit of weight to this as well. Let's put this thing together before I get the batteries in. So we got a piece up here to attach. There is a little hole right here. There's wire up here. I don't think these wires actually function like for the battery power. I think this is how it looks in the movie. And that just attaches onto there. There's another reason I love these really high-end collectibles. You never really get a good look at the BATPOD in the movie. It's dark, and it's fast. So this is the first chance. I love this movie. I've seen it tons of times, but this is my first time to get a really, really good close look at the BATPOD. So that's the first one there. This is kind of... there we go. That's better. It looked like it was kind of in the way of the handle, but you can pull it up. It's attached with like a strap or something right there. tuck that up there out of the way. And then on the other side, I'm not following any instructions here, but I do remember in the movie that these are on the outside, protecting Batman's forearms. And creak. Oh boy, this is living on the edge. There we go. There's only one way it can fit in. It's kind of a D-shaped hole. And luckily there's a little bit of give here. See how that goes in and out? Depending on the range of the figure you're trying to put in it. So again, I hope that Spin Master figure fits correctly. There's 2 more pieces to add on here. This thing is humongous. I got these 2 little pieces right here. And give me a moment to look up and see where they go. So these are meant to reinforce these side pieces. This part right here that I'm tapping plugs into this hole right there. And then that connects, I guess, on the side part. Right there. Be super careful. Put a pillow. Don't be like me. Put a pillow underneath where you're working. This is not an action figure vehicle. You drop this, it's done. I don't know how much luck you're going to have gluing this thing together. So I've got them both plugged in now, and this one plugged in perfectly, nice and secure. I don't know how much extra support it's adding. That is a pretty flimsy looking piece of plastic. Maybe this should have all been metal. I mean, if this thing is going to be so spindly and thin, maybe they should have made the whole thing out of metal, although then it probably would have been 2 or 3 times the price. And then on the other side, this one is not plugging in as well. I got it in there just by the edge. It's good enough. But I don't want to force anything on this at the moment. And the top part, this is the seat where the Batman sits, and that just comes right off, and this is where the batteries go. So this is purely decorational. It's not an actual functional wire. There's a bunch of other decorational wires on the back. Did something. I've seen some reviews of this, and people are saying, oh, this broke off and that broke off. And so I was hoping nothing broke off of mine out of the box, but it looks like I do have one little piece that's come loose. There is another one that's plugged in up ahead, and it looks like the back one has come out. Oh man, I need some tweezers. This is tough to do, especially on camera. Got to plug back in there, but it looks like it was glued in and it came loose, so probably have to just put another little dab of glue and glue that in. If that's the only thing that's broken on this, then I got extremely lucky. There's a screw to undo here, and that's where the batteries will go to light up the front of the BATPOD headlights on either side. Got a pair of AAA batteries in there. And there is an on-off switch underneath. And here's another thing that you got to cross your fingers for, that both lights work, and they do, and they are bright. One of the reviews said this is basically a flashlight, and it is. These are incredibly bright lights. Beautiful. I think it's important for these big vehicles to have some kind of electronic light sound on them. That's why the HasLab Ecto is such a winner in my book. It's got all the lights and sounds on it. Pop that compartment back in and secure it back down. And we put the cover back on. It just kind of sits on there. One thing to guide it by is this little piece right here. Seems to just fit into there. Boy, be careful what you choose to press down on this thing. I find the safest spot to put your hand is right under here. And then push. Do not just push this thing down. Put this thing down and then push down. Don't put any weight on this thing. I had a piece come loose here. Luckily it didn't break. But this piece right here came out. I was able to just push it back in. Lucky it didn't break. Good fortune has smiled on me today with the BATPOD. I've had no issues other than that little plug that came out, which is holding. I haven't even glued it back in. So there's the BATPOD. And there's that little clip that the EMP gun clips into, or maybe some other weapons might clip into it as well. There's some weaponry on it. There's a machine gun on the bottom on both sides. And then these humongous guns. I guess maybe they're missile launchers. Yeah, because there's that one part where he's blowing up cars in the alley. How did he know which ones didn't have people in them? That'd be tragic if maybe there was one of the cars he blew up had some teens snogging in the back seat. And grappling hooks, which he used to overturn the Joker's truck. And it's too long to fit on the spinner. It's also too tall for the middle of it to just sit on the spinner, so I just grabbed a piece of scrap wood. Beautiful looking piece. Very spindly, very gangly looking. It's all wheels, which I love. Like I said, I love the tumbler, and I love that this is the emergency escape vehicle from the tumbler. And I also love that this supposed to be like a temporary emergency vehicle ends up being his main ride for the rest of the movie as well as the next movie. The coloration on it is beautiful. I mean, it's mostly black, matte black, but this metallic paint they used is just stunning. Beautiful sheen, and I've got tons of lights in this light box. Bouncing off it, light always makes right. So makes it look even nicer. There's some wear on the tires. Makes it look like they've been well used while it was a tumbler. Wires. Awesome. Looks great on its own, but I need to try having a Batman on there. And some people have the Batman just straddling, which looks fantastic if he's standing there holding like an EMP rifle or one of his other gadgets. That way he doesn't have to actually put any weight on the BATPOD. But I would love it if I could get a figure on there, even if it's a Spin Master 12-inch cheapo figure. Just have something on there riding it. Okay, here comes the fun part. Let's see if we can get this guy to fit onto this bike. So, luckily he's got fantastic bend in his knees. Might have better bend in his knees than the Hot Toys Batman figures do. Unfortunately, no ankle bend. This is a $10 figure, so I'm not expecting anything. It's already surpassed my expectations. It's got a cloth cape, so if you want to have some kind of a device to hold the cape up. I think there was one released with a previous version of the tumbler, I'm not sure. And luckily he's got this hip joint. So let's see how close we can get. He's so light, I can't imagine him. Well, let's just try this. Let's see how much the tumbler dips just from having him sit in the middle here. Nothing. Minuscule. So the weight issue isn't an issue, I'm thinking. You know, do at your own risk, obviously. It goes without saying. Anything you watch on YouTube are just suggestions. They're not orders. But the knees, look like they're getting closer to fitting in the knee cups or whatever they're called than the Hot Toys figures are able to do. The feet stick out too much. If only they had well, that sounds really picky, asking any more for this from this figure, but yeah, just an ankle tilt, twist would have helped a little bit, but that's not horrible. And then the trick is to get the hands to grab these sticks. Ooh, I don't know if he's going to have enough range in his elbows. I was hoping he would have more elbow range. Now, luckily, these move up a little bit. These, I think they're brakes. So you can get a little bit of clearance for the hand in there. I should be playing some kind of like pulse pounding or Jeopardy music on this, because I think this is a really easy way to break your BATPOD. Luckily, great range in the shoulders. You can move him a little side to side. Even if he's just grabbing the edge of the handle. I'm hearing all sorts of creaking. Whew. Okay, I got him as good as he's gonna get, I believe. So a couple of tips and tricks if you want to try this. And I think he's sitting on it better, more naturally looking than a $300, maybe $400 now, Hot Toys Batman figure. And the weight of it, let's see how much it drops down. I'm not hearing any squeaking and creaking and cracking from having a figure on this. He's a little wobbly. That's the one thing they're not able to stabilize, the back and forth. So I don't know, maybe you could put little wedges, maybe even little toothpicks on either side of the wheels might help. But here is what helped me get the hands to grab both of the handles at the front, is twist these forearms right here. These forearms twist. So by twisting them, that'll help. So if I was having trouble getting that into the hand, the hands are pretty rigid. Heating them up with hair dryer might help, but I mean, it might go back to its original form and then twist this. But just by twisting his forearm, it helped me shimmy that into it. So even though the wrist doesn't go up and down, it just goes left and right, the forearm twist was what made the biggest difference there. And then in the back, you're not going to be able to get both knees into both of the knee holders. So I got one almost in there, and then if you bend this knee all the way back, you can get the foot up high on the pedal. Without doing this, it wasn't even on the pedal. It looked really bad. But then giving it a full bend gets that knee almost in there and ride high. And then on the other side, in order to get it to fit, you can't quite get the knee, despite all the great range in the hips and the knees, can't quite get the knee in there as well as the foot on there. It's a trade-off. If you want the knee in there, the foot won't go on the footrest. If you want the foot on the footrest, can't quite get the knee in the cup. So that's the best compromise I can come up with. I think it looks spectacular. I wish the head could go up a little more. That might not be a hard customization to get the head to look up. Unfortunately, no waist articulation. He's not or an ab articulation. He can't look up. It looks great in pictures and in some of the toys when the BATPOD is jumping up and he's looking up. But I mean, even this, like if I just raise up the front wheel, I don't know what this really does to the integrity of the structure, but just for the time being, that is an awesome way to display it right there with the front wheel up a little, and it makes up for the head not being able to look up. This might be the best way to display this thing, at least with this figure. That looks really nice. Shows off the lights more, just makes it look more dynamic. Like it's launching towards the Joker. Whoa. And here's a 360 of the Batman on the BATPOD. Gotta look into getting some kind of a cape attachment to make it look like that cape is flying. That would make a big difference. Or just add some wires to it. It wouldn't be a big deal. But even without that, it looks really cool. And I think it looks so much better having a Batman on it instead of it just sitting there empty. So there you go. That's it's not just affordable, it's downright ridiculous alternative to putting a very expensive, very stiff Hot Toys Batman or any of the other high-end companies that make these. Some of the pictures I've seen in videos, the Hot Toys Batman is almost, he's like laying. His legs are almost straight, feet on the rests, and just going straight, completely skipping the knee part. At least with this Spin Master figure, he does look like he's riding the BATPOD. I mean, it is what it is. The figure is a $10 figure, $10 US. I think it looks fantastic. And there's also peace of mind of knowing that your very expensive Hot Toys Batman figure isn't creasing and cracking and being damaged. Sitting on the BATPOD. And adding extra weight as well. It's another big one. It's so light. This figure weighs almost nothing. Oh, yeah. Give it a try. If you're not happy with how your Hot Toys or Takara or any of the other high-end Batman figures look on a BATPOD or in the tumbler as well. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't think to put the two together because there's such a huge price discrepancy. But like Hunter used to say, works for me. Thanks for checking out the review. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to the Patreon tribe for supporting the channel, as well as the channel members, the channel panel. And until next time, Nerdmas Day.